Thank you and good morning. Welcome to the Renfrew County Housing Corporation meeting of Wednesday, October 30th. It is 9:16 a.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order. As we gather today, we acknowledge on behalf of the County of Renfrew and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Omamawinini Algonquin people. We thank the Omamawinini people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of Indigenous peoples who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Has roll call been taken?
Yes, thank you, Chair, and we have quorum.
Thank you. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? I see none. We have a Corporate Services Department report, and I believe Mr. Billmore is going to give this for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So first, today we'll be doing a resolution, so I'll read that for you. The recommendation is that the Renfrew County Housing Corporation Board of Directors recommends to the Community Services Department, Community Services Committee, that the County Council adopt a bylaw to approve a 2-year collective agreement between the Canadian Union of Public Employees, Local 4425, the Renfrew County Housing Corporation, and the County of Renfrew for the term January 1, 2024 to December 31, 2025, which was ratified by the CUPE membership Monday, October 28th, and that bylaw 106-20 be hereby repealed.
Could I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by the member from Killaloe Haggerty Richards, seconded by the member from Head Clare Mariah. Mr. Billmore, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm pleased to announce that we reached a tentative agreement on October 22nd with CUPE 4425, who represents our housing inside and outside workers here at the county. Our last agreement was for a 3-year contract from January 2021 to December 31st, 2023. The employer was represented at our negotiations on October 2nd by Director Patrick, Director Davis, Ms. Dombrowski, and Mr. Raditz, along with myself and Amanda Nesbitt from HR. Our discussions were respectful and productive, which led to both sides reaching a fair agreement. As I said, the new contract was ratified by CUPE on Monday, October 28th. The highlights of the agreement include a pay increase of 3.3%, which is about $55,000 and was budgeted for in the 2024 budget. As well as a line straightening of the wage grid through adjustments and a 3.25% increase in 2025. So the county had budgeted 4.79% for wage increases in 2024, which is about $80,000, of which 1.5% was allocated through bargaining towards the grid adjustment. And the grid adjustment really stemmed from sort of a side effect of our pay equity negotiations that were concluded earlier this year. The union noticed that the increment between steps was not necessarily a consistent gradient, and in order to smooth it and make it a linear progression, points for dollars, they wanted to have it adjusted. So we took 1.5% of the amount we had set aside for wage increases to cover that, and the additional, so the actual wage grid adjustment is a 3% cost, so they paid for 1.5 of it out of the proposed wage adjustment, and the other 1.5% we're proposing comes from the funds set aside in the 2024 budget for RCHC maintenance staff hours allocation, which was $94,000. That allocation is only going to be used for 2/12 of the year, for November and December, and not for the number of heads that was budgeted. We budgeted to move all 14 of our custodians from up to repair people, and the agreement with the union is actually only for 7 people to move up on ratification, and by the end of 2025, by the end of next year and the end of the agreement, to have everyone moved up. So we have the funds left this year that won't be touched, so we're proposing allocating 1.5 to cover our 1.5% of the grid adjustment. We also changed the share of benefits from the split that's paid between the employee and the employer. So by the end of the collective agreement, which is next year, we'll be paying 100% of the premiums as the employer, which is consistent with our other CUPE units that at the end of their current terms, it'll be 100% employer paid benefits. The annual cost when we're covering 100% versus what we are now is about $30,000 annually. We gave slight improvements to the boot allowance from $300 to $350. Again, this is consistent with the CUPE agreements in other departments, as well as our own County of Renfrew non-union boot allowance. This was also modified. Currently, the collective agreement only spoke to our maintenance staff getting a boot allowance, and what we've added in now is a triennial boot allowance. So every 3 years, the office staff are eligible for them because we recognize that our folks are going out to the units, and some of the conditions in the units, require safe footwear to be using. So those costs, I roughly did that. It's $4,200 triannually to cover for all the office staff, and the increase for the maintenance staff of just the $50 is $850 a year. We also modified the benefits package in terms of what is considered for mental health coverage. The current package only allows coverage for clinical psychologists. That's the only type of practitioner that's covered. Again, in line with what we've done in other collective agreements, we have expanded the scope of practitioners. It's the same dollar value, but it can be spent across multiple practitioners like family counselors, psychotherapists, psychoanalysts, family counselors, etc., as opposed to just needing a clinical psychologist, recognizing the difficulty in actually accessing that specific service. We did also make a minor adjustment to vision coverage, increasing it by $50. This sort of keeps it in line with some of the other vision coverages across the other QP units. In terms of gains on the employer side, we were able to achieve changes in language around our pregnancy and parental leave, which includes a top-up provision, a sub-plan for folks that are on parental or pregnancy leave. What we ended up changing is a number of years back, the federal government changed that EI could be taken from 12 to 18 months. The way our language was written is the top-up was the difference between what you got from EI and the percentage of your salary. So if you took the long plan from the government, you were getting 33%. If you took the short plan from the government, you were getting 55% by EI. So for us, if you took the long plan, we had a larger top-up, the difference between 33 and your 84% of your wages, I think. So now what we've done is essentially to make it fair and consistent. If you take the longer plan, you'll get the same dollar value as that you would have from the shorter plan, just spread out over the longer period. So you won't actually reach the same percentage top-up of your salary, but this total dollar value over the 18 months would be equivalent to the total dollar value you get over the 12 months. So we got that language put in. We've been changing that at our corporate policies as well as other collective agreements to recognize the change that happened at EI. We were also able to get some clarifications in around our mileage claims so that we got some examples put in and clarify site reporting versus once you've reported to your site and traveling to other locations for meetings or out to units so that it's clear for both sides. And Chair, that sort of wraps up the high level of all of the changes in the collective.
Thank you, and thank you for all your work to getting to this point. Are there any questions or comments on this first recommendation? No, I see none. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Carried. Okay, could you go through the second recommendation, please?
The second recommendation is that the Renfrew County Housing Board of Directors approve the HR report as presented. Sorry.
I'm sorry, that's my that's my recommendation. That the Renfrew County Housing Corporation, the Housing Board of Directors approve the Human Resources Division report as presented. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by the member from Petawawa, seconded by the member from Whitewater. All in favor? Carried. There is no other new business. The date of the next meeting is Wednesday, November 13th, and I'll call for adjournment. Mover. Second, moved by the member from Head Claremore, seconded by the member from Whitewater. All in favor? Carried. We are adjourned. Okay, are we, we're still rolling? Okay. I'd like to call to order this meeting for the Community Services Committee. It is 9:25 on Wednesday, October 30th. Roll call is we still have a quorum, has been.
Yes, thank you, we do.
Thank you. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? There are none. Once again, we have our Corporate Services Department report. I don't believe we have to go through everything again, but I'll leave it back to you.
Perfect. So I'll just read the recommendation for you. It's that the Community Services Committee recommends that County Council adopt a bylaw to approve a 2-year collective agreement between QP 4425, the Renfrew County Housing Corporation, and the County of Renfrew for the term January 1, 2024 to December 31, 2025, which was ratified by the QP membership October 28, 2024, and that bylaw 106-20 be hereby repealed.
Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by the member from Killaloo, Haggerty Richards, seconded by the member from Petawawa. Mr. Billmore.
So it's the same background as the previous meeting. So with your leave, I would just leave it at that. And if anyone has any other questions.
Are there any other questions? No? Okay, I'll call for the vote then. All in favor? Carried. Could I get a mover and a seconder for the approval of the Human Resources Division report? Moved by member from Petawawa, seconded by the member from Whitewater. All in favor? Carried. New business, we have child welfare funding, and I believe this will be carried by or talked to by the warden. Am I right? Did you want me to read the recommendation? Or? Yeah, okay. Andrea, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. I can read the recommendation. So the recommendation is, whereas the County of Renfrew and the City of Pembroke have no financial obligations concerning the funding of child welfare agencies, and whereas the Financial Accountability Office in June 2024 identified issues with funding in the child welfare sector, and whereas Family and Children's Services of Renfrew County has experienced a funding cut of $1.59 million or 10.8% over the past 10 years, and whereas Family and Children's Services of Renfrew County was provided planning allocations reflecting a further funding reduction of $963,603 over the next 2 years, and whereas Family and Children's Services of Renfrew County has achieved administrative efficiencies as a multi-service agency, has implemented various cost mitigation measures, including reductions in staff and services, and has reached a point where further measures could negatively impact children at risk and their families. And whereas both the County of Renfrew and the City of Pembroke are committed to improving the health and safety of their residents, and now, therefore, be it resolved that the County of Renfrew and the City of Pembroke formally request the Province of Ontario to consult with and collaborate with child welfare agencies to develop an updated and equitable child welfare funding formula. And be it further resolved that the newly developed funding formula be structured to ensure an equitable and proportionate distribution that meets the diverse, unique, individual, and complex needs of the communities and populations served. And be it further resolved that the Warden of the County of Renfrew and the Mayor of the City of Pembroke be directed to write a letter to Minister Parsa expressing their concerns and requesting a meeting in the fall of 2024, or to submit a joint delegation request for the 2025 Rural Ontario Municipal Association, ROMA, conference, and that this resolution be shared with Premier Doug Ford, Renfrew Nipissing Pembroke MPP John Yakubuski, Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO, Rural Ontario Municipal Association, ROMA, Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus, EOWC, Eastern Ontario Mayor's Caucus, EOMC, Ontario Association of Children's Aid Societies, OCAS, and local municipalities.
Thank you. Could I get a mover and a seconder to put this on the floor? Moved by the Warden, seconded by the member from Killaloo, Haggerty Richards. Any comments? Warden, please.
Thank you. This, the executive director approached me, I'm going to say in November of last year, I think just shortly after she'd been appointed executive director. And we had a number of conversations from that date forward, and the presentation we're going to see later on today is the result of that. At the same time, had conversations with Mayor Gervais and it was then brought forward to the joint committee, the committee that discusses issues between the city and the county, and it was agreed this was a perfect example of a cooperative effort first. More importantly, though, it highlighted, as you noted, the reduction in funding, and I think when you look at the presentation today, we'll also see there's a reduction in the number of children in care. So we have to ask questions about whether that's an impact of funding. The developmental portion of their business as well. Those numbers are somewhat concerning, as part of the conversation was that some of those adults are supported by family members who are aging, and so that could impact on our numbers going forward for supportive housing. So there is some immediate funding issues, but there are also some secondary funding issues. And again, because their strategic plan talks of protecting and contributing to the betterment of the health of our community, I think this fits very nicely into what we do, and it dovetails with our businesses. And then also, I think advocacy is a strong part of what we do, and we advocate for our community. So I'm very supportive of this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions on this? I think we're all looking forward to the presentation today. Okay, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Carried. Date of the next meeting is Wednesday, November 13th. I call for an adjournment. I'll move in a second. Moved by the member from Petawawa, seconded by the member from Head, Claire Mariah. All in favor? Carried. We are adjourned.